All right, I'm gonna go live. Are you ready? Where'd you go, Kyle?
Yeah.
Cool.
This one's not loading.
I'm good on my end. We're live right now. I just don't have you right now on yours, Kyle.
I can hear Kyle. I just can't see him. I don't know if that's the same for you.
Yeah.
Whatever. Mine's not
there
working.
you're back.
There you are.
My live's not working, but I don't care. It's fine.
Well, we should be on right now with tile time, so we're all good.
Yeah.
So, what's up, everybody? Welcome again tonight. We have our guest, Emily Lopez. We just kind of wanted to introduce everybody. Turn the lights on. He's dogging you. Emily, if you can, just go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of get everyone familiar with you.
Okay. My name is Emily Lopez. I guess my background in construction started when I was in high school. So I am 33 now, which I thought I was 32 till about 2 months ago. And I just lost a whole year of my life. My husband's like, no, like you're about to be 34. And I was like, dang it, I lost a whole year. So I think I was probably 17. I had a AP calculus teacher, and his wife was also a teacher, but she was never one of my teachers. I knew her from like the hallway. My locker was right by her classroom, and they had a bunch of investment properties. So they had trailer parks and apartments and houses and all that type of stuff. And they would always hire students to work on those properties and help them, paint them. And they, rentals get trashed. You always have to fix them up. And so I started working for them in high school, worked for them through high school, college. And, everyone said, you have to go to college, you have to get a degree. So I got a completely useless master's degree that I don't use at all. And when I was at the end of grad school, started investing in real estate. And so I did a lot of my own projects, my own renovations, and finally there was enough requests for help that I got my license so I could, be protected if I wanted to help friends and family. And nice. I actually don't really do that much work for other people now. I mostly just renovate my own properties, and I've kind of had the intentions of flipping some of them, and so far have just kept them all as rentals because they've kind of been flip attempt failures, and then people just always need rentals, so we've never gotten rid of any of them. And I am licensed. I'm a licensed general contractor. That's the only really license you can get in my county. Wyoming is very lax. They don't regulate contractors, and it's really kind of scary. But I don't do a lot for other people unless they're in a bind, because I just don't really have time to.
Cool. Is it so what's the process for being a licensed general contractor out there? Do you have to do you have to have a certain amount of capital in a bank account plus, all that? Because like Nashville, we have to have like a certain amount of money, and that will basically decide what our license limit will be. If you got 10 grand, you can do $100,000 projects. That's your limit. So is it anything like that where you're at, or how do they do it?
It's alarming how little regulations there are. So I love Wyoming because I don't like a lot of oversight and control. Like I like that we have the freedom to live and we're kind of left alone. And I think Wyoming people like that. But for the public, I think it's really scary because people will advertise licensed and insured, and the consumer thinks that means something. In Wyoming, all you have to do, well, there may be, I'm sure like Jackson and some of those bigger municipalities where there's more money, maybe they have some city regulations, but as a state, my county or my city, all I have to do is get contractor's insurance, prove that I have it, go to the city, pay $125, and I get that license. I don't have to prove that I have any experience. And this is I could say I'm a plumber. I could say I'm an HVAC person. The only thing that's really regulated by the state, to my knowledge, is an electrician. And so you have these people that they pay someone who's licensed and insured. And I always just tell people, go by word of mouth more than going by that, because anytime, and the same with home inspectors in the state of Wyoming. We don't really have, you don't have to be licensed to be a home inspector. So when the economy gets bad, everybody becomes a handyman, a plumber, or a home inspector. And you have these people that have no idea what they're doing. And builders are getting the cheapest subs. And so sometimes I'll walk through new construction because I'm also a real estate broker. And I actually went to the city and reported one because they weren't this was years ago. They weren't waterproofing the shower pans right. So when I got into real estate, I was doing a lot of construction on the side to supplement my income. And I was just rebuilding shower pans in brand new houses because they were building shower pans that were failing from the get. So like I demoed one it was a $500,000 house, which here is a lot. It was by the golf course. That was a really expensive home at the time.
Oh, nice.
And I'm taking out the shower pan, and they've used a PVC liner, and about every 6 to 7 inches, they've screwed through it, but like right at the base. It's screwed into the wall. So it's been leaking since day one. And so a couple years later, I went through that same builder, one of their properties, and they're not waterproofing anything right. So I went to the city and I said, can you guys do anything about this? I don't care if you say I reported it. Like, I don't care. I don't care if they like me or not.
Right, you're looking out for the homeowner.
Yeah, and they said, no, because it's a craftsmanship thing. Like they're using the right materials and the products. They're just not instilling them properly. So we can say, hey, people are reporting this, you need to do better. But legally, there's nothing they can do. And so I'm constantly seeing things online where people are complaining about brand new houses, and there may or may not be a warranty, but you're not getting somebody to come back. I mean, they just don't. And it's just crazy. But again, even if that big builder hires a licensed sub because they didn't have to go through any regulations to be licensed, they've checked their box because they hire a licensed sub. And so there's a lot of problems, I think, because we need a little bit more regulation than we do have in that arena.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah. I came from Texas, and Texas didn't have licenses at the time. So my Uncle Mike would always joke when people asked him, are you licensed a contractor? And he'd be like, yeah. And he pulled out his driver's license, and it was
well, and sometimes the sad thing is the license means nothing. Like I know people that I have clients who have, they buy a house, they fix it up, they sell it. They kind of just do it as they buy a home. Like they're not doing it at scale, and they really care and they want to do a good job, and they're doing the research and learning, and they're doing a better job than maybe a builder that's doing it or a contractor that's doing renovations, because they're doing the research and learning to do it appropriately. So there's people that I would recommend that don't have a license before some people that do have a license.
Oh yeah. I know plenty of GCs in Nashville that don't know shit. It's crazy. And it's crazy. Like, I mean, they just drive around in their big trucks wearing a vest and looking at their phones and that's, and they don't know shit, man. I just thought, I don't know how in Nashville you have to take a test. It's like a pretty extensive test, and it's just surprising,
Here in Colorado, it's similar. We have to take tests, and then even with the GC, you have to have like 3 years experience with either in the field being supervised by somebody, or you have to then hire, you can hire a person that's licensed in your company, and then they can essentially then fill that role. But it's definitely regulated, I think, good, but also, it makes it that much harder too for somebody that's trying to start out. So say you've done your own job and you've worked somewhere forever and you come over there. Well, now you're kind of stuck with having then to kind of restart and supervise somebody for 3 years, essentially, just to get this license over here. So it's definitely, it's got its ups and downs. So
there's no way you can test out, like if somebody had years and years of experience and really knew what they were doing, they come to Colorado, they're just screwed.
For the most part, yes. Like with Denver, at least, like you said, each county, each city, and that's the thing here too, is there's so many different jurisdictions. So when we pull permits, like you'll find out, okay, well, sometimes you have to get a permit with the county and the city, depending on where you're at, and then it just becomes a whole fun thing. So I mean, naturally, everything I do is done as if I do pull permit, but there's a lot of people that will cut corners, and they're the ones that that's the reason why we have that. So it's to protect the homeowner. So it's good. But I've also had inspectors that are just pain in the asses, and that's their job. And, and they take it out to try to be the big bad wolf, essentially. And I don't know, I've been shut down for the most stupidest things sometimes. And or essentially not shut down, but failed. And it's just like, okay, well, this is stupid, and naturally one was literally, he didn't even get out of his truck, and he came over to the door and then just left and said, oh, no one opened the door. And it was like, you didn't even knock. And unless somebody's on watch, which they only give you a window of a day, they don't tell you when to expect them. So you're having just to sit out there and you're wasting your entire time. And I don't know it. I like it and I don't. So it's nice to have a Netflix day. That's what I call it. Just sitting in your car and watching Netflix and you're waiting for the inspector. So, So you said you started when you were 17 and you do a lot of your rental properties right now. How many rental properties are you managing at the moment?
So we just have our own. So we managed for a while under our brokerage. And that was another thing that we discontinued because they were in such poor condition. I mean, it was crazy because people would come look at our rentals and be like, oh, these are so nice. And I'd be like, they're nice, but they're nothing, crazy fancy. And then when we started managing for other people, I was like, okay, I get it. Like we had to turn a lot of people down because of safety things, or we'd say, hey, you need to fix this before we'd be willing to take you on. And they wouldn't. So we now just manage our own. So I have 5, 6 that I have rented right now. Two I'm renovating, one that is an Airbnb. So we kind of have a mix of like townhouses and single family homes and apartment, or like, I guess, properties that have an upstairs and downstairs apartment and stuff like that.
Okay. That's awesome. That's a good little number right there. That's awesome. So when did you start actually investing in that? Like how old were you when you had your first rental property?
I bought my first rental property from the family that I worked for. They were kind of starting to get rid of some of theirs. And so I bought my first one when I was in my last year of grad school. So it was like me and my husband, it's 2013, because it was right after me and my husband got married. And when we got married, he said he didn't want to do anything. He's not into construction or any of that. And he said, I'm okay. Like, if you want to take the risk of investing and do this type of stuff, that's fine. I'll support, the risk and all that, but I want nothing to do with it. He hates construction. Anytime I need help, like lifting something or whatever, he's like, am I going to get dirty? Like he just does not, he just doesn't want to do it. So anyway, that was kind of our thing from the beginning, is sometimes I need help with heavy stuff, or he'll help me demo. Like I joke, like his name's Dallas, and I always say like Dallas Smash, like Hulk, because he could just come in with a sledgehammer and demo for me. But that was our deal from the beginning, that I could do it, but that he just didn't want to have to be a part of it.
And he's still like that. He hasn't changed.
No, he has no desire. He doesn't like it. It's not his thing. And I think in a relationship, that's the best thing, is let people do what they like. I think sometimes we try too hard to like do the same things and have the same activities. And no, like I don't want to go do the stuff that he likes doing. Like he's into photography and videography and all that. And I mean, I've had to get into videography now with my YouTube channel, but it's okay to have different interests.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't do the videography for you?
He did when I started. So when I first started, he did a lot of that for me. But we actually have a food truck, and he runs that. And so we just don't have the time. There would just be no way anything would ever get out if I had to wait for him to do it. So I had to learn. He helped me learn it, though.
What kind of food truck do you got?
Hot wings.
Hot wings. Right on. So you got Nashville hot wings?
We have one called Dubsville Hot. So our truck's called Double Dubs. And if you actually look it up, we actually have won the so one of his childhood friends started it. We have a franchise off of him. And we've won the National Buffalo Wing Festival in Buffalo, New York a couple of times. We go every year. We've been on Triple B. I mean, his friend's the one that comes up with the recipes. His name's Trent, and we call him the saucier. Like he's just like a sauce savant. And so yeah, we do have it's a Nashville hot spin. It's called Dubsville Hot.
I love hot.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Oh, nice.
I love it.
You got a food truck, don't you, Kyle?
I used to have a food truck. An earlier in life business endeavor. A buddy of mine and myself, we bought an old ski boat and like gutted it. He pulled it up to Missouri to his dad's. They got a tractor, like picked it up off the trailer, flipped it around, painted the trailer, brought it back. We built a shed onto this ski boat with like a metal roof. It looked dope. It was called ago, and we dipped frozen bananas in like in chocolate and then rolled it in topping. It was like a dessert truck, and then it evolved into like a burrito dessert truck. It got crazy, and then never made any money. We were always working, never making any money, but it was a fun time. It was a good time for my 20s.
That's
you guys
awesome.
make money off your food truck, I hope.
Do y'all run the food truck, Emily, like all week long, or is it just something y'all do in certain times, or what do y'all do?
Yeah, so he runs it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and then he uses the other days to remake, because everything's made, we make all the sauces in house. So sauces are remade on those other days. We make all our own blue cheese in house, and then clean in the days in between, because we're like, you look in that window, we always want to make sure it's super clean and shiny and stuff in there. So it's
awesome.
full time though, even through the winter.
Do you have
That's
to have?
Awesome.
We're getting
way off track.
Do you have to have? I don't even care. Do you have to have a commercial kitchen for your food truck? Because here in Nashville, we had to have like a commercial kitchen to go to like do our dishes. We couldn't like go home and clean the dishes,
So Wyoming is, again, much less lax or much less strict. So even like our friend that has the original one is in Laramie, Wyoming, and he's opening stuff in Colorado. And the Colorado rules are a lot stricter than what we have in Wyoming. Mm-hmm. So we cook everything in the truck. There's a lot of rules that allow people maybe to not do that, but we cook, everything is done in the truck. All the sauces are made in the truck. But we have a detached garage behind our house, which we're not required to do this. We just do. We have a detached garage behind our house that's all, like climate controlled and has a sink. And I mean, because I say that because it would freeze if it wasn't. And we do all of our bowls, and we have a sink back there and clean everything in there.
Awesome.
Yeah, here in Colorado, it's the same thing. We have to have a commercial kitchen rental.
Like a commissary.
Yeah. And that, because I looked into that as well when I first moved here in 2015. I was like, because I came from the food industry about 12 years ago and did almost 10 years in that. And that's where I was like, okay, well, I'm happy to get out of that. For me, I'm like the opposite of your husband. You will not drag me back. And even like doing dishes at home, I'm like, oh, I'm so bad at it. It just takes me back. And I'm like, no, I don't miss that. Not a good point. I like doing construction.
I managed the Smoothie King, so I just like slip it in with the other dishes. Like, yo.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, that's awesome. Too good. So what are you currently working on the two right now that you're renovating, Emily, your rental properties?
So right now, the main house I'm working on, which is what most of the stuff that you're going to see on my Instagram right now and my YouTube channel is, it's a whole house renovation. So we originally bought it. The intention was for it to be a flip. And we're actually going to keep it. My mom's going to live in it. And so it's kind of elevated some of the finishes and the things. Like I added a gas fireplace. It wouldn't make sense for a flip here in the price point of the house, but for her. And so I'm trying to finish that first. I'm getting close. I'm putting in floors now. But that was rewire, replumb. We even did new sewer lines because the basement, when we bought it, the basement was dirt. So I'm like, well, before we put concrete down, I might as well do, because it's an older neighborhood. So some of the sewer lines were cast iron. So I'm like, let's do PVC before we pour concrete. So it was everything. And so that's the big project. And then after this is done, I have just an apartment of I have the upstairs on Airbnb, and the downstairs, we're just going to make another 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. So that will be a full kind of redo. We just got it rewired. And so we'll do a bathroom, bedroom, kitchen. We'll just kind of paint cabinets. I think I'll do epoxy countertops, and then we'll get that one on Airbnb too.
Is this the one that you just did the flooring for?
So right now I'm working on the flooring on the one for my mom. So we're putting vinyl plank in that one. And I have like one little section of one room I'm leaving because I have to finish micro cement on one of the bathrooms. And I'd rather not have to worry about the floor. So I'm like, I'm going to leave this little spot outside the bathroom where I can mix and, splash and whatever. And then we'll finish those floors in there.
Nice. And that's the video that you made, kind of where you're tracing out the register on the floor.
Oh,
Same.
Yep. So that's the house that's the full house gut. So we're getting close though. I think we'll be done in a couple months on that one, and that's been a lot.
Bennett Flooring wants to know how you got into finding properties to flip. That was kind of explained that in the beginning there, but I guess he missed that. But you want to go?
Yeah, I can't see. Is there somewhere where I can see if comments pop up, or do you guys just see those and have to tell me?
So I've got them over here on my phone. Let's see.
Are you on your computer?
No, I just followed the link on my phone that you guys sent me.
Oh, okay.
No worries.
You can pull up Instagram another way. You can follow the podcast. That's just how we do it. But if not,
I'm afraid to mess with it and make it
Yeah,
go
no,
away.
that's kind of how we are too.
Yeah.
We got them on both right now on the phone.
we're still figuring it out too. Honestly.
So I got finding properties. I think once you start doing it, people kind of let you know. So I am a real estate broker. I own a real estate brokerage. That's how like I make a living. And then I do this also. I would love to get to where I can do this more full time and just renovate properties, sell them, rent them, whatever. But so people will come to me sometimes and they have a property that is not financeable and they know it's going to have to be a cash deal. So they, you know, it's got knob and tube wiring or it's in so bad condition a bank won't loan on it. People will come to you with those properties. Sometimes you just see them pop onto the market, but a lot of times people just know you buy them and they'll kind of reach out and say, I have something I'm interested in. And sometimes I'm interested. Sometimes my money's tied up and I have an investor that I work with a lot and I can, you know, point them to the house.
Nice.
So how many rental properties do you have?
So I have 3 townhouses. I have a unit that's a triplex, but it has a house and a separate house on the lot. So, you know, sometimes there's multiple. So it's on a corner. It's perfect. The people that they don't even know it's the same property. So there's a front house that's a full-size house. There's a back house. The upstairs I have on Airbnb. The downstairs is the one I'm renovating. So 3,
Cool.
6. I have my office building, which we just rent that to ourselves. We have my house has an ADU on it with an apartment above it. So right now my mom's in that while I'm finishing the other house for her, but we have that on Airbnb when she's not in it. And then I think that's it.
So do you like do the Burr method with any of these?
I haven't yet. I think I probably will. So the one that I'm working on right now, that was the one that was supposed to be a flip. Now we're keeping it for my mom. So we'll rent it to her. I was going to flip that one. So I have I bought it in cash, but it was, you know, a low price because it was a fixer upper. I renovated it in cash. Right now, I probably won't refinance it to pull money out only because interest rates are pretty high, especially if you're not an owner occupant. But when they go down a little bit, I'll probably finance that one to pull some money out to then go into the next one. But right now, I mean, for an investor, I think you're looking at like a 7+ interest rate. It's not the best time to pull it out.
No.
Yeah. No. We got our first investment property last year, and been through all of that trying to figure out what to do with it. But we actually just put it back up for sale. So it went under contract and we're hoping to get rid of it on the 30th of April.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. I was crawling around in the crawl space down there today, a little 5-hour road trip. But
did you guys buy it intentionally to fix it up and sell it, or did you buy it and then decide you didn't want to keep it?
Oh yeah, no, we bought it to sell it. We found this thing on. So I've been looking at this town. Man, I was in a contractor's class. There were some guys from all over Tennessee in there talking about this town, Brownsville, where this big Ford plant's going to go in. It's going to make this town boom, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, all right, cool. I was looking into buying real estate. So I found this house down there for $30K, which is pretty crazy anywhere in Tennessee. And it needed a lot of love. But I had a buddy who could just buy it outright. So we went in on this deal and I put up all the work and he put up the money to get it. And yeah, it was the time. We lived in the camper out there for like 6 months, like in the driveway. And yeah, I got to know the neighborhood and it was cool. But I really want to get rid of it because it's like 2.5 hours away. So anytime anything goes wrong, it's like, shit.
John's ready to get paid. I don't blame him.
I gotta spend the whole day like going down there and fucking around, you know. So I don't know.
I think that's really a good thing though for tradespeople. I wish we would think about investing more because I mean, I know some people work for an employee, but a lot of tradespeople are independent contractors or own their own businesses or at least in a position where you're not getting a retirement fund, right? Or a 401k match or whatever.
No,
and
sure.
So we need to be thinking about when our bodies can't do what we're doing.
Yep. What's next?
You can buy a property and do things at cost, and it's still a lot of money. You have to be able to buy it. You have to be able to buy the materials. But I wish more tradespeople would look into either rental property, because here's the deal. If you buy a rental property, and it's not for everybody because it's a lot of work to deal with it and get those phone calls or flipping, but some of my rentals, I look at like I'm making a little bit of money every month, right? Not a lot. It doesn't matter. I'm just saving it for emergencies and stuff or to buy another one. But when those are paid off, I can either sell it and have that nice big pot of equity, or I can keep it and I get that rent money every month, but now I don't have a mortgage on it. And so you got to think about, sometimes we make good money in the trades, but that's only as long as you're working.
That's
And so I think that's something that, I mean, anybody that's listening that's in the trades, it's really good to think about making that supplemental income of, if you could do one flip every 2 years and just have it on the side and work on it as you know, between jobs or whatever. And you have that extra income you're putting into a retirement fund, or if you want to consider rentals, we need to be thinking about that as tradespeople, because no one's putting money into a retirement account for you if you're not doing it.
Yeah,
that's so true.
Yeah, especially, I mean, in being a tradesman, you know, having that skill set, leverage that. Like, you may not have I didn't have the money to buy the house. I had the money to buy the materials, not the house. Who cares if I got the money for the materials, because we got to get the house first. So, I mean, leverage your skills. You know, someone who's got a little money in the bank, like, you know, talk business with them. I mean, I was shocked, honestly, when my buddy is like, let's go. I was like, okay, let's go. You know, so
that's really good advice, Emily. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's what we need, because I talked with Kip from Rock City Tile, and he's the one who kind of started making me think, like, yes, everything's good, like you said, right now, but there is going to come that point, and before we know it, we're all getting older, that depending on what happens, your body is going to say, okay, not as fast, or it's going to start hurting. And it's nice to start thinking about what's next. If that involves you expanding your business, having people underneath you, or going that route as well, to where naturally you're able to, you know, take your money and invest it into assets, and then naturally that can help you make money in the long run as well. So, I mean, for me, it was kind of an eye opener, because at the moment I was enjoying the ride right now, and I still am, but it's got me thinking, okay, what is next, and what is the next step for me? Which is good. It's good for everybody to start thinking that. Don't get too comfortable with where you're at, because you never know what's around the corner. So
leverage your skill set, Phil. I'm talking to the crowd here, but sorry, I had a brain fart there.
Yeah, for me, I want to definitely start getting into investment properties. I've always wanted to start flipping, just mainly get into something, so that way I'm investing my own time and money into it. Naturally, I don't want to say the word, because obviously time is money. You can take a little longer when you have those, but yes, you don't want to take too long. But the best thing is here, I mean, I assume it's everywhere nationwide, but capital gains is 2 years or so. And then naturally you don't have to pay that percentage. So it'd be nice to start having a few to where you can cycle that out. And then naturally you're not having to pay that capital gains, just an extra percentage to the man. So
do you guys, have you guys heard of a 1031? Well, let me just say what a 1031 exchange is, just in case
please,
our listeners don't. So what a 1031 exchange is, you can't use it for flipping, but that's where you buy an investment property and then you take the gains from your investment property and roll it over. So you're
into another one.
Yep. So if you buy, I have people that start out, maybe they buy that $30,000 house, they renovate it, right? Because we all have to start. Like, you can't buy an expensive house to start. You renovate it, you get it really nice. Well, what happens when you sell that? That's now a $300,000 house, or whatever. The market blows up, or whatever.
Right.
That's a lot of gains. I mean, sometimes that happens. So you have a good year, but the tax chunk out of it just nips you in the bud, right? And so you take that money and you invest it either in something, maybe in a neighborhood that's closer by, right? That's 2 hours away. I don't want a rental 2 hours away, but I want one down the street. And now I have more equity. I have a bigger down payment. I can invest down the street. You invest that money into your next property, or you buy a fourplex now, or you buy into storage unit, whatever.
Yeah.
There's some rules, but
yeah.
So you roll that over. If you keep doing it till you die, there's no limit to how many times you can do
this.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
My plan is just to die, and whoever inherits all my shit, sorry, I don't know if we're cussing on here, whoever inherits all my stuff, then they get a tax on it. And I don't care, because it's free money for them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I would like to flip, because I don't want to have a ton of rentals. I don't want to be stuck to this area and not like just have to be here all the time to deal with it. But I also, if I sell any rentals and I can invest, maybe I move and I can invest in the area I moved to, then I don't have to pay taxes on that money ever if you keep doing it until you die.
That is so true. That is so true. That's awesome advice. I'm glad
That-
you brought up the storage unit as well, because that's something I've definitely had a passion for, and people don't understand how lucrative that is. I mean, essentially, you start investing in that, and you have people that are always coming and going. But naturally, if you keep that thing full, it's almost like having a lot where you're keeping RVs there or anything like that. It sounds silly, but the overhead becomes very much a nice amount of money every month. So of course, if people have to be paying, but if you can stock it, all of them, either one, that's something I've been looking into lately as well. So that's awesome. I'm glad you said that.
I wonder sometimes when I look at storage units, because I know like I always wanted to buy storage units when we were first starting out and I couldn't afford them because it was like these big commercial properties. And now I feel like there's certain things that have gotten trendy, right? So like now everyone's investing in storage units. And so you look at what you're buying them for, or if you're buying something and converting it, how competitive is, I think it's hard to find those buys now. Like I remember 7, 8, 9 years ago, you could buy a set of storage units if you had the capital, which I didn't at that time. But now the rates, you look at the numbers and it almost doesn't make sense. I guess if you have cash and you're trying to plan it somewhere, but if you're like, I would have to finance anything commercial like that, and you look at interest, I don't know if you have the return. The other one like that is trailer parks. Like I got my start crawling under trailers and having dead cats fall out of the belly of a trailer on me because someone's pipe was frozen. And it wasn't cool to do trailer courts. Like that's just what my job was. Now everyone and their dog is investing in trailer courts and these prices are insane. And so it's like, once there's 20 million programs and someone's trying to sell you a course and all the rich people have already done it, what can we be looking for next? Because those numbers and those prices for those storage units now, unless you get a good deal or you find something in an up and coming area, it's hard to find a trailer park that makes sense on the return. And it's hard to find a storage unit that dollar for dollar you're going to get that return on it.
I totally agree. You almost have to start fresh and essentially kind of get a buy a piece of land and then essentially build it from straight up, and then you're still the overhead. It takes time, and you're going to take more permits. You're going to take a lot more lead time on that one versus just a quick investment and then turn around right away.
But the nice thing with storage units, though, if you did have some land that you think about areas where there's not a lot of utilities, like you need electricity, right? But you don't need plumbing, you don't need sewage, there's a lot of things you don't need. So I've had some friends that have some junk land, and I'm like, well, maybe put storage unit because you already have the land. It's just the building cost. Like, so maybe you're in that perfect storm where it makes sense with what the position you're already in,
Right. Here in Colorado, we've got so many different areas. Obviously, if you're hitting in town by Denver, and even that, Denver's such a big city, Colorado Springs as well. Yes, they're going to need them always. But, you start getting out into the suburbs and there's little towns where they're almost forgotten. So, it's kind of nice to, if you can find one of those that either people are passing through or moving there, it's good to invest in those because like Kyle said, if there's a possibility like that town he was investing in, then it could take off. So it's kind of nice.
You just have to do your numbers. I think people get excited about things because they paid for a class and they want to get their money's worth, or they listen to some guru or whatever. Run your numbers. Don't get too excited about a deal. Be willing to walk away from a deal if the numbers don't make sense for you.
That's awesome. That's good advice. Heck yes.
So what is that cow sound?
That is Chewbacca, and that's my wife. She's a teacher, and she's heading home. So that's Chewie.
Like somebody on a farm?
Dude, I'm a big Star Wars fan, and so I've got R2-D2. He's my notifications. I've got Chewbacca. He's my text message. Yoda, the do or do not. There is no try. That's my voicemail. So I've got them all. Each one's on my phone.
So, Emily, have you ever bought land and done anything with it, or have you always bought existing structures and properties like that?
I bought existing properties. So I think there's kind of this misconception with Wyoming that we have just all this land available. Like people call me all the time as a realtor and they're like, I already bought a trailer. I need somewhere to put it. And I'm like, not here. We have so much zoning against just plopping a manufactured or a modular home in an area. There's just not good land for good prices here. every once in a while there's a good deal, or when I first started in real estate, 7 years ago, there would maybe be a good thing here and there, but financially it doesn't make sense. It's funny because I'm on my county planning and zoning board, and one of the guys on there with me has a building company, and they kind of started small and grew. So they renovated a house, and then they tear down a house and build a house, and then they buy lots and build, and just kind of as they could grow, they grew. And he was telling me that he doesn't self-perform. Like I self-perform most of my work, but he said that it cost him less to tear down a house and rebuild it than it does to renovate a house, just because of how much time retrofitting takes. So we're starting to see a little bit of that here. You know how you drive in a big city and there's an old house and then there's a brand new, multi-million-dollar house next to it because someone tore down and built in that area. We're starting to see houses that are bad enough for people to tear down. I haven't done that yet, but I would be open to it. I just would have to hire it out because I've never, poured a foundation. It makes me nervous to sub things and let things out of my control because of the lack of regulations of good
Well,
contract.
I run into a lot of that problem here. A lot of times, even when I do sub things, I do a lot of plumbing that I should have a plumber do, but so many times I bring a plumber in to do something and it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Well, I brought you in to like abide the code and you did a shittier job than I would have done. So I totally get that, wanting to take on bigger projects, but being afraid of like, who do I hire? I don't even know, because I don't really know how to do that anyways myself. Can I trust anyone? But I was asking about the land thing because going back to like 1031s and stuff, have you heard of like buying land outright and then going to get a loan? See, like if you buy the land in cash, you can go get a loan for like 80% of what the finished product, the finished build you're going to put on there. So, ideally the construction of the property only costs, 60% of whatever it is it's going to be when it's completed. So you walk away with like a 40% profit when you sell it.
Yeah, a lot of times, so with financing, that you're exactly right. If you buy the land, then you can get a construction loan or a builder's loan. There's different processes. It's hard to get loans on land, so you have to kind of be able to buy the land and then you get with the bank for the rest of it. It's kind of been hard in my area. Like if I wanted to just do complete new construction, there is a little bit more available now, but there was a big builder for a while that he had partners, he was able to invest and do a lot of phases. Again, I'm a small town, so we're like 25,000 people or less. He was able to do the phases of construction. He would require you to use him as your builder. And so he wouldn't let you just buy a lot. Now, some of the phases, they've opened up a few of this new development they're doing, and they actually have opened the first few phases up to other builders, but I'm kind of wondering if that's to, reinvigorate their capital. And I don't know what they'll do with the upcoming phases of the development. So it was something that really wasn't available to me because there was so few lots available. And that was a problem. People would want to build new construction on the real estate side and they'd say, but I don't want to use this builder. And to find a lot was really hard for them because very limited, small town, small development going on. Gotcha. And now they have that option. But the next phases, I don't know what what will be available for people.
So where you're at, you say a small town, the next biggest, like what'd you say, Salt Lake City's 3 hours away?
Yeah.
So what's like the next small town? How far away is that?
So there's a lot of small towns. So in Wyoming, we have I'm in Sweetwater County. I'm in Rock Springs, Wyoming, and I'm in Sweetwater County, and our county is really big. So we have, we have Green River, Wyoming, which is like 12, 13 miles away, and they maybe have like 15,000 people. And then we have Farson, which is, I will be wrong if someone from Wyoming is listening to this, I'd say maybe 30 miles away. And that's just like a farm and ranch town. So they have 6 people. No, I don't know how many, but not that many. And but it's not like where you have Denver and then suburbs. Like, it's not like I'm in a suburb. Like, no, we have a bunch of small towns. So it's Rock Springs and Green River. You have about 25,000, 15,000. But like you said, then I have, if I want to plan ahead and I want certain materials or I want cool, unique products or anything like that, like I'm going to Salt Lake City and I'm planning in advance to get those products.
Gotcha.
That's cool. You said you're from Rock Springs, Wyoming. That's where, I don't know if you've heard about the Beast Mixer, the little bucket insert.
So the house I'm renovating right now, we're very good friends. We met in karate several years ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
The house I'm renovating, I bought from him.
That's
belt are
awesome.
you?
Small world.
Are you a black belt?
No, I actually haven't done it for a couple years. I think I was a purple when I stopped going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's that? That's like the 4th or 5th one, isn't it?
So you go white. Well, they're all different, right? So you go white, yellow, orange, purple, and then in the
Okay.
school I was in.
That's
You can hold your own.
pretty good. That's pretty
awesome.
good. I'm sure you got some moves.
But so Jason's my buddy. So Jason is who has Beast Mixer.
Yes.
And he was actually really great when I was doing jobs for other people, because I had done a lot of everything. So I had done a lot of construction, kind of just everything, doing maintenance, repairs, renovation for the people that I had worked for. And then when I started in real estate was when I saw the need. I'd have people pay a contractor, they take your deposit, they'd start, and then they disappear, or they do a horrible job and they need it redone. So I'd always have people ask me for help. And I said, well, if I'm going to help people, I need to get my license so that, I can get insured and be protected and stuff like that.
Yep.
And Jason was actually really helpful for me, because he kind of can do everything, but he has a tiling background. And he was a lot of help to me when this was, 7-8 years ago. But
That's
when
awesome.
I got licensed, yeah.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. I'm getting to know him better and better each day, and I'm like, he's real down to earth and just genuine. So it's nice.
He needs
good when you find people
infomercials.
like
Me and
that.
my husband always say.
Yep.
He's so charismatic. One time he was talking about like scraping out his Beast Mixer, and he said whiz bang boom something, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you need to make infomercials for your product.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. The sham wow guy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too good. Heck yes. So how long have you lived in Wyoming? Have you essentially lived there your whole life, or have you kind of moved around, or what?
So I was born in Wyoming, but not in the town I live in now. So I was born in Gillette, which is, just another part of Wyoming. We moved here when I was a kid. I actually moved away for college, but still in Wyoming, just in Laramie, which is where the University of Wyoming is. And then I lived in Mexico for about a year. I wanted to learn Spanish. And so between my associate's degree, my bachelor's degree, I took like a little less than a year off, and I just went. I didn't want to pay to study abroad because that's so expensive, and people take out student loans for that. So I was like, well, I'm just going to quit school for a while and go learn Spanish. And my parents were like, you're going to die. And everyone's like, you're going to die. And I'm like, I'm not going to learn Spanish if I don't go, because I had taken every class I could. I would like go to Spanish churches. I would try to be around Spanish as much as I could. And I wasn't getting immersed. I wasn't learning it. So I went to Mexico for a year, came back and finished college after that.
Oh, that's awesome. Here, I'm going to open up real quick. My wife just got home real fast. Hold on. I do this in the garage, and so she's like, I don't want to open the garage and disturb you guys. So she had parent-teacher conferences tonight. She teaches kindergarten.
Oh, man, that's tough.
It is. So, heck yes. Well,
Okay.
Kyle, what are you currently working on?
Oh, go. I would say, what questions do you guys have on your thing, since I can't see it? Is there anything that we haven't addressed that...
So let's actually open it up. Anybody tuned in right now, go ahead and ask any questions if you want. Looks like Leon was excited you went to Mexico. He's showing. And then Jeremiah was also saying that he's got his mom's ringtone is the Imperial March. So he's also a Star Wars fan. So that's awesome. But yeah, let's see who else. Let's see.
Hello, Star Wars fans.
So this is my husband's office I'm in.
Yeah.
I have his Ahsoka Tano back there.
Oh, that's awesome. Heck yes. Yeah, I got all my section right here. Everything's right there, all Star Wars for me.
Nice.
My little Lego, which is the working compactor. There's actually, oh gosh, I forgot. There's a little switch I can hit to the side, and yep, there it goes. It'll actually compact them, and they get all tight. I'm a geek. I don't know. I love it. That was one of my either Christmas or birthday gifts. So heck yes. Well, right now we don't have any actual questions.
Well, Emily, would you say you specialize in anything, or is there one specific thing that you like to do more than the others? You like tiling, building cabinets? What's your fave? What do you hate?
Oh, what do I hate? I hate plumbing, but kind of like you said, every time I have tried to sub something out thinking I don't know enough, or if I just get the expert, especially back years ago when I was newer to everything, I think I want to make sure this is really done right, so I'm going to hire somebody. And then as time went on, it was I'm going to hire somebody. You know, we talk about the timeline of projects, and I'd sub something out to make it go quicker because I'm like, then they can do this, and I can come in and do this. I have had to tear so much work out from other people. So I end up paying them. I wait for them. So it actually delays me. It doesn't go faster. And then I have to tear it out anyway and buy the materials again. I mean, some things you can reuse, some things you can't, right? And so for me, like I hate plumbing, but I've had to learn a lot of things about plumbing. And the cool thing is there's so much we can learn online now, right? I mean, I feel like when I started, things were a little bit more gate kept. But now I feel like people are more willing to put things online. Like I definitely, for me, like I think there's a huge trade deficit. That's why I started making videos because I just, not everybody has what I had and a mentor to learn from, right? Or not everybody can afford to pay for something to be done. Or, you know, I see all these things where people are like, this shouldn't be a DIY project. Someone shouldn't be DIYing this. And I go back to the people that care, and they're going to be carefuler and do a better job than a licensed person that doesn't care. So I will always put that information out there because maybe you paid someone to come and plumb something and now you're fixing their work because you can't afford to pay to do it, to have it done twice, you know? And so I hate this gatekeeping that are people like, you should hire a professional or yada, yada, yada. And like half the time, like some of my posts that get the most shit talking about something in the background or whatever, or something I'm doing, I'm tearing something out that I paid somebody to do who's supposed to be an expert in that field, you know? And so we do a lot of things we hate just because you have to. I hate plumbing. I've never wanted to do anything with plumbing because water just freaks me out. I feel like, you know, with electric, if something's wrong, you know right away it's not working or it's not running right or something's weird. With plumbing, if you have a slow drip or something like that, you might have a long standing problem before you realize. So I'm very intimidated by plumbing, but I've also paid plumbers to come in and they've messed stuff up and it's been a long problem and it's the same consequence, you know? So we do a lot of stuff we don't like. I think I like having the variety. I like that I get to go through and do a whole house. So I like tiling, but it's nice that I get to take a break and then I get to go build a set of cabinets and then I get to go, you know, put a wood floor down. And then it's just nice to be able to break it up a little bit.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Electrical, I mean, it either trips the switch right then, and I hate the word fire, but you know, naturally it just leads to a fire, worst case scenario. But with plumbing, yes, if you have a slow drip, it's not going to always flood, which people are, you know, under the impression it will. It can lead to mold. It can lead to a lot of other things that, you know, down the road that cause just as bad of a problem. So for me, when I started out 12 years ago, I built I call it a tiny home. More, it was a kind of a tiny guest home. It had 250 square feet on the bottom, 250 on top. So it was 2 stories, but did all the framing myself with my mentor, who was my Uncle Mike. And then I went ahead and did all the plumbing. I got a code book to do the plumbing, got a code book to do all the electrical. Everything worked out. And it was one of the most satisfying experiences ever, just because mainly I didn't know which direction I was going to go in the construction industry. And I just kind of wanted to get a general gist and get my hands dirty and know on my own stuff prior to going out there and doing it for somebody else. Because like you said earlier, it's not fun to go out and try to learn new things with somebody else's property and their money and time. And you know, it's nice to kind of know what you're doing ahead of time. That's what makes professionals professional. So versus just a handyman.
And
So,
you might discover something that you love. I mean, that's the thing I hate about our world, and that you have to decide what you want to do when you're 18 and commit and then get to a bunch of debt. You know, I mean, the things thought I wanted to be when I was a kid, when I was growing up, you know, and luckily I just stumbled into this and realized, oh yeah, that's my thing, you know, but you sometimes do something and then you realize I really, really like this. So if you don't try stuff and maybe you really like framing, or maybe you go, nope, didn't like framing, but I really liked electrical, I want to go into that specialty, right? And then I just think we all need to know a little bit of everything, because like you said, you're on site and a plumber messes something up, or you can't get them to show up, or should you have to do that? No. But if you can be more multidimensional and you can do, it's easier for me to get all my stuff lined up and not worry about someone screwing up, having this 1 inch over. Like, I told you to put it there. Why didn't you put it there?
Oh my God.
Yep. Story of our life.
Last month, I waited forever to let these guys put this valve in this basement shower. And they finally fucking do it. And it's like 3 inches off. I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? So then I just moved it. And I'm just like, why did I wait? Why
Yeah,
did I wait?
and it delayed you, and you waited, and then you had to do it anyway. So I don't know. And here's the deal too. Like, I think people worry so much about specialties, and obviously, depending on your area, you have to work within your insurance and where you're going to be protected as a business and stuff like that. But at the same time, people used to build their whole houses. I mean, we have this whole thing where it's like, you can't do that and you can do that and whatever. But I mean, if you put the time and the research into learning, and again, there's almost nothing you can't learn online, or at least get enough information to be able to educate you and walk yourself through it.
Yeah, we're so lucky these days. Quick question. Leon does want to ask you, he says he wants to invest in flipping properties. What would be the suggested first step for you?
Okay, so there's a couple things. You have to make sure that your money's right. So unless you have a partner that's going to have the money available, you're going to at least have to be able to qualify for a home, which most of the time on your first flip, you're not going to have the cash to buy. So the absolute best route to do is to at least get in a position where you qualify to purchase a home. There's two different types of purchases. You have a cash purchase. So there's houses that are in such bad condition that banks will not loan on them, because they want to make sure if the buyer defaults right after they close, meaning you never make a payment, they can turn around and sell that property.
Make a profit. Yep.
So there's non-financeable properties, which are what a lot of investors buy, that are in a condition that a bank won't loan on. And then there's homes that you can get traditional loans on, like a conventional loan, an FHA, all those traditional loans that you hear about. The best thing to do is buy a house that you can live in. And so when you buy a home as a homeowner, which it sucks to live through a renovation, but this is the least money down option you have. If you buy a home to live in it, your interest rate's going to be better, and you're going to qualify for better loan terms. And so, like, if I buy a house, like when I was first starting out, I bought a triplex. This wasn't my first one, but this is my first intentional after my first rental. So we moved into one of the units. Because we owner occupied it, we only had to put 3.5% down because it was an FHA loan and an owner occupant. If you buy an investment property, you have to put a minimum of 20% down, which is a big difference, 3.5 to 20. So if you could buy a multi-unit, even if you don't, even a single unit, but you live in it, and you can get an FHA loan, 3.5% down, you live in it. Now there's rules, you have to live in it for a couple years or whatever, but then you fix it up, you add value, you make it nicer, and then you move on to the next property. You can either keep that as a rental, you can either sell that, whatever you decide to do with it. You're always going to have to put 20% down when you buy an investment property. As an owner occupant, if you qualify for a VA loan, that's no money down. If you find rural areas, my town is small enough, they have what's called a rural development loan. I would say 90% of the properties that get bought here, people put no money down because of our populations. Yeah. So if you bought it and lived in it, you have to live in it for a couple years. And then you fix it up, you make it nicer, you add some value, and then you move out of it. Then you go on and you hopefully have some equity, and then you can make your plan for investing in your next property. So the best thing is to try to find a home you can live in and add some value to, so you're not paying rent at the same time. A multi-unit's better because you can make some equity out of live in the shittiest unit. If you buy a triplex and has a basement apartment, live in the basement apartment, rent the nicer units out, fix them up as you go, rent the ones you're not, living in or fixing up. But I know sometimes it's hard with multi-unit, but when we bought that triplex, we lived in one, we renovated it, we rented the two, and then we started renovating them as, we got done with the other ones. We always had that income from the other ones, and we only had to put 3.5% down because we owner occupied.
That's awesome. So if you put down 20%, you don't have to have mortgage insurance. Is that correct? Correct.
So if you buy a home and you put less than 20% down with a conventional loan, you're going to always have, so let me backtrack. If you put 20% or more down with a conventional loan, you don't have mortgage insurance. Conventional, you can put as little as 5% up to 20%. And some banks like Wells Fargo used to have a first-time home buyer that was 3% with a conventional. But even right now, the interest rates are so much better with FHA than with conventional. The lenders are telling me even if you go FHA and have mortgage insurance, the interest rate is so much better with that government-backed loan.
Interesting.
That it's actually, just buy it, get the better payment, and just refinance it in a couple years.
Interesting.
Conventional interest rates are really high right now.
So Bennett also asked, do you already know what you want to do with the home when you purchase it each time, like rental, flip, Airbnb, or does it often just change?
It changes. So I always make sure that whatever I buy, because I'm very adverse to risk, I always want to make sure that I could keep it as a rental and my numbers would make sense if I couldn't sell it. Say the market has a downturn. If I can Airbnb it, I make more off my Airbnbs than I do as a long-term rental, but I never run my numbers off of a short-term rental because as we know, regulations are changing all the time.
Yep.
A lot of people have Airbnbs and then your city says, nope, you can't do that anymore. If
Yep.
you ran your numbers off of a short-term rental and you can't have a short-term rental anymore, are you upside down on your payment?
That makes sense.
Yeah, you always want to run your numbers off of the work, unless you're open to risk and you have more money available set aside and you're a wealthy investor.
Yeah, but that's a gamble. That is a gamble, it feels like. So
yeah,
no, that's
I always
awesome.
run my numbers off of my worst case scenario. And then, like I said, this last house I bought, I actually bought it with a partner. That didn't work out well. We wanted to buy our partner out. They didn't want to let us buy them out. They're friends, they're great people. The partnership just didn't work out. I thought we were half money, half work. And then I was over there till 3 a.m. And then I'm like, where's everybody else? And so the plan was to buy that with a partner and flip it. And that did not work out. And then I bought them out and then I was still going to sell it. And then now I'm keeping it for a family member. So that definitely transitioned. But my numbers were based off worst case scenario. So it still works, in that situation.
Heck yeah. That's awesome. I think we got all of it. You can also refinance once you have 20% equity. That's what Jeremiah is saying.
You can refinance even if you don't have 20% equity. You're just going to have PMI then.
Okay.
Like when the interest rates were really good a couple years ago, everyone and their dog was refinancing because they just wanted a better interest rate. So they still, you don't have to have 20% equity to refinance. A lot of people just do it because rates are better.
That makes sense. Yeah, back when it was dropping down to 3, I'm like, right now I've got 5, and I'm like, God, I missed it. We were getting a new build built, and then everything everything was so low, and then as you saw last year, everything just kind of shifted, and then we missed it. We were trying to sell this house, we missed it by like a few months because I was renovating everything, and I just didn't want to push it. And then naturally, I probably should have pushed it because we missed the window. Everything kind of backfired on us. We ended up backing out of the new build, which we lost the deposit on that one, but we kept this house because it didn't sell. So we still had somewhere to live, but naturally, it would have been nice if we knew we were going to stay here to hit those rates and to lower the payment. But
a cost of renovations says hard money is the fastest way. That's how I did it in 2021, and I did it great. Hard money is, you better be careful if you're going to mess with that.
I know a lot of people do that. I think you just need to look at what your willingness for risk is and what your realisticness is of your timeline is and your skill set, because you don't want to, a lot of people try one investment property and they really put themselves in a bad position. So hard money is an option. If people don't know what that is, basically you're borrowing money. It's maybe less secured. So it's not a traditional mortgage. Maybe it's secured by you versus the property. Maybe it is secured by the property, meaning they'll take the property if you don't pay, but those are really high interest rates. They're a lot riskier. So, like if you ever watched, like when it was that flip or flop show and they're like, we're paying this much in interest every month. We can't, every day it costs us this much. They're panicking, like that's hard money. So I think you just have to be realistic about how quickly you can finish a product. I've never done something like that. Again, I'm not interested in risk. Or more risk than I'm comfortable with. So, that's great if you're a knowledgeable investor, but maybe not great for your first
definitely not for the beginners. You gotta be able to move quick. You gotta know what you're doing, what you're gonna do with that property. You gotta have everything lined up.
And if you have a well-oiled machine like Flippers teams and they are doing a bunch of houses and they have teams and they can move like this, super. But if you're doing it all yourself and learning, you're going to take way longer than you think.
Yeah, you'll end up putting over your head and upside down for sure.
How do you feel about foreclosures? We didn't touch on that, like on investments on foreclosures. Are they kind of risky, good, or I'm just curious on what your take is on that?
Yeah, no, I think that, again, budget for worst case scenario. So I always tell my clients when they're investing in a foreclosure, imagine that everything that could go wrong is going to go wrong. So like, if you think the sewer line's okay because you cameraed it, imagine they missed something. If you think the furnace works, imagine it's going to go out tomorrow. If because I've never had it happen to me, but I've seen stuff online where people have poured concrete like down their sewer drain. People really are, they're not, they think it's
Yeah.
not their fault that their house is getting foreclosed on, right? Like you pay your
Right,
bills
but
or you
they're
don't
retaliating at the bank, not the next owner, essentially. You know
Right.
what I mean?
So, I mean, I think you just have to budget for everything. Imagine your furnace is going to go out tomorrow. Imagine that AC condenser is going to, fail once you turn it on for the first time in the spring. Imagine that your sprinkler lines are frozen. I mean, just budget for everything being wrong. And if it's not, super. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of opportunity right now in my area because there were so few foreclosures for so long. They really drove up, and I think people are overbuying them. And if you buy too high, you can't turn around and make money when you sell. So I think
That makes
everyone's
sense.
chomping at the bit because there's been so few properties for investors. And I think we have to let that level out because people are buying stuff for way too high for what they're going to turn it around for.
Okay. That answered my question. Good deal. Well, let's see if we got any other questions real quick. PMI is essentially mortgage insurance, right? Property mortgage insurance.
So it's mortgage insurance, but it's not like when you think of insurance to protect you, it protects the bank. So if you put under 20% down, you're higher risk to the bank. So they charge you an extra fee every single month. It could be $40. I've had properties where it's $115. I've seen people that have been clients, it's $200. I mean, depending on the price of the home you buy. Basically, they're just taking more money from you every single month that doesn't go towards anything except for protecting them because you didn't put as much money down. So in the event that you default, i.e. stop paying on your mortgage, they've collected more money from you. And so it's less scary to them if you stop paying.
Gotcha. Well, good deal. Kyle, you got any other questions by chance?
Nah, not on that topic. Nah, we have reached the hour mark though, and we did just get cut off on Instagram.
I did. I went ahead and messaged everybody though and told them to go to YouTube if they do want to continue on. So we might have some people that are joining in on that as well. Otherwise, we'll upload to that. Quick question too. When we were talking about teardowns, is it common at y'all's place as well, where if you keep one wall, the way we get around it here in Denver is you keep one original wall, you can tear down the entire foundation, the entire house, but as long as you keep that one wall, any wall in that house, it's still not considered a new build. It's considered a renovation. Is that kind of at both y'all's places as well?
Yeah. Fucking weird shit, man.
It is. You'll see that floating wall like out of nowhere, and it's like, what is this? And like you're like, I know what that is. They're getting around some jurisdictions without, because naturally you have a whole bunch more permits and a whole bunch more money to invest into it.
It'll say a house was built in like 1912, and then you'll be in there like
brand new though.
Clearly not. This is definitely like a 60s home, you know?
Yep. I was just curious if it's also like that too in Wyoming, or how's it work over there?
I haven't heard of that. I don't think we have as much red tape that people are trying to get around. The only thing I've heard of more is like if something's grandfathered. Okay, so for instance, we have some areas in our floodplain because of our drainage ditches, not because of like we don't have a lot of moisture, but there's like a creek that they have for some drainage issues. And so if you're in a floodplain and you want to renovate, you can only get a permit for a certain amount of the value without basically raising the elevation. And so basically you have to either put hardly no money into it based on what it appraised for when you bought it, or just tear it down and rebuild it like a certain height higher. So they almost look like modulars because they're up on a raised foundation. And so I can see maybe it's more about the percentage of value, I think, than like a wall. Anything like that I've heard of. But again, we don't probably have a lot of the rules and regulations you guys have because they're pretty friendly. We have a really good building department. They try to work with us as much as they can because I think there's so many properties that are not maintained or cared for that if you want to come in and try to make it work, they want to work with you if you're going to add value to the community. We have a really good department and really good city planner.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know. It trips me out going downtown Denver and stuff, and you see all these like basements torn out, but there's that one wall and they've got it jacked up, and it's all floating just there. And it's like, okay, that's a new build. Even though you got 2x4s and stuff, you're still rebuilding it all, but they get around it by naturally being able to say, oh no, that one wall's original. So it's,
and how dumb. It's not better for the build to do that, right? And so wouldn't you want to have a department that wants to do what's best for the integrity of the home and the quality of the home? And luckily here, even if it doesn't fall within our zoning or our rules, you can always ask for a variance. And as long as it doesn't hurt the surrounding areas, again, they really do try to work with you here to do what's best for the quality of what's going to be there after and for the area.
Heck yeah. Yeah, it always trips me out. I'm like, if you're going to invest that much time and money into a new house and have, you know, like 100-year-old wall there. Like, yeah, sure, it's in good condition, but I would just rather have all new materials. And then if you go ahead and build a house and you switch that wall out, well, then they'll call you out on it. And it's like, I don't know. Like I said, sometimes it's good. I get the reason why they have it, but it also can be a pain in the ass too.
Now, I have heard about, and this is kind of cool, and I'm sure you guys have, being in like bigger areas that have historical areas, where they'll keep the front of a building or a home because it's stone or it's something attractive, you know, like a cool downtown building, and they'll prop that and build behind it. But that's more for aesthetic reasons and to keep some of the history. That's super cool. But doing it to like get around a rule, like fix your freaking rules then.
Yep. We've got somewhere called Grandma's House, which is a nice little bar downtown, and it's really cool. But like you said, the entire front is all stone, original, old Denver kind of look. But then behind it, it's all like industrial. They've rebuilt it all, and I love it. It's a nice little place to kind of go relax. In the middle, they have it open where originally it would be in between two shops, but now they've got it to where it's all enclosed into both, and they can do a little venue out there. And I don't know, it made something out of nothing, essentially, you know, or somebody would come in and bulldoze it and put a condo there. And so it kind of keeps the history there, and I like that idea. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Well, do we want to wrap it up, or you got any other questions?
No. I was just gonna say I love your city. I love Denver. It's a pretty city.
See, I live so close and I haven't been yet, so I've got to come up. Jason's actually invited me up to the barn where he does all the his shop and everything. He was like, dude, we could do some camping up here. He's like, you got to come up here. So I told him likewise.
Let me know if you come, because we can meet up. Yeah, he kind of lives, it's called like north of town, so it's like a little bit more bigger lots and more rural.
Cool.
And so he builds his stuff out there and pours everything out there. But we can check out whatever project we got going on here too if you come up. But maybe wake up a little nicer, because you might get stuck here if you come in the cold.
Oh God, I don't know. I posted this thing like a few weeks ago where I showed up to the project and it was like 3 feet of snow, and then I'm like shoveling it because the homeowners weren't there yet. They have a second home over in Ohio, and I'm like, okay, getting close, and then right to the side of it. It wasn't even where the pitch of the roof was. 1 second, sweetie. And but naturally it was about 4 feet. So I was like, God, that's so much snow. So, but his new deck was built really well because it had all the weight load on it, and I didn't have to worry about it. There was a moment of where I was like, I didn't build this, so I sure hope this guy did the right thing, because I don't want to fall. So, heck yeah. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up, and then I really appreciate your time, Emily. Thank you.
Yeah, Emily, thanks.
I feel bad we didn't really talk about tile that much. We kind of talked about real estate investing, but
that's okay.
I think contractors should really consider it. I mean, if you can make it work for you, it's a good retirement plan.
No, that's kind of what we needed to. Like I said, naturally, even though it's not tile, it's the next step. It's something that we can all think about, and I'm glad we touched on it, because naturally, a lot of our tile guys, they were interested and they naturally wanted to know these answers. It's kind of probably a passion. Like I said, I've had that passion for a long time where I want to invest in flips, and it taught me a lot of things. So I appreciate it. And we got to know you better. So this is great.
And I'm happy if anybody has any questions like that. That's really that's just done so much for my life. Because again, I love what I'm doing, but most of us do, but we're not going to be able to do it forever physically. We're just not. And so if anybody has any investing questions and they don't want someone that's trying to sell them something, feel free to message me on Instagram. I will always answer to the best that I can. I'm happy to get somebody started or on the right track. It's hard online because everyone's trying to sell you something or sell you a program. They're not actually trying to help you. So feel free to message, if anybody has any investing questions and they don't know where to start, they can always reach out to me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. Well, heck yes.
What's your YouTube?
So my YouTube is, and I have it linked in my bio on my Instagram, and it's at You Can DIY Home, but it's not big enough. I think I only have like 6,000 subscribers, so it's not big enough that you'll find it if you search it. But it's linked in my bio, and I just do all sorts of. I started with investing videos and DIY, and then YouTube doesn't like it when you do that much stuff. So I kind of just niche down to like projects and how to do stuff and how to, install a floor, or how to tile a floor, or how to, cut a circle and tile or whatever. So it's just all things like DIY or construction on there.
And then I saw in your bio as well, you have your own podcast. Is that right? Or is that something you do currently? Or
Well, I haven't kept up on it. Well, we started doing it about real estate and real estate investing and just kind of the real estate world. And it's not something I've kept up on. I really would like to, and I've thought about bringing it back. It's so hard because everything online wants you to niche down. And it's like, I want to talk about construction and investing and real estate. And then like all the platforms are like, no, we want you to pick. And it's hard when you feel like you're narrowed down, but they can't target people if you don't.
that makes sense. That makes sense. Their algorithm, but that's where we like this live stream. And like I said, some weeks it allows you to go over about an hour, 2 hours. It just depends on how that algorithm is working at that time. So Facebook kind of controls that. But I don't know. I like it. I like it because it allows us to be ourselves, answer like we did tonight, anything we really want to, without having to feel like you're stuck with that one topic. So
I'm glad where it went.
Oh, I am too. This is awesome. So you did great.
It's valuable. Real estate investing will change your life. And like you said, Robert, I know you said like you're worried about it, like with rentals and stuff. What my mentor told me when I started is some days you eat the bear and some days the bear eats you. And I have had people trash my shit. But financially, it has been better than it has not in the long run.
Like when the leveler goes through the floor?
What? Oh, yeah, that was... No, I mean, like I've had renters destroy stuff. Yeah, no, so that I've never had that happen, and I'm always so careful.
You said that in that video. I was like, hey, I was.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah. Some days it's just bad, and some days it's just good. And with investing in the long run, as long as you're not doing really risky stuff, you're gonna be okay in the long run. And the nice thing is, as a tradesperson, I've never had something happen that I couldn't fix myself. I've had things I've hired out because of time, and then again, then you have to fix it. But you can fix things that are going to cost significantly more to bring somebody else in to do, And so if I have to renovate a townhouse real quick, what it costs me versus what it costs somebody who can't do it themselves, it's huge. It's a huge difference.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, being a homeowner too, real quick, when we touch on this, since you do own the property or your name is on the property, it makes it that much easier. I imagine if you do have to pull permits, just because naturally, I know you have a GC license, but if somebody didn't have a GC license, they usually have to have a homeowner's or go through something like that.
So in Wyoming, you can do work on your own property.
See, that's awesome.
Including electrical?
So I don't quite know what the rule is there, but I think you can. I think if you have it for the purposes of flipping it, you might not be able to. Like if you own the property, but you're trying to flip it, I'm not sure the line there. But like if I was renovating my basement and I was like, I'm going to do all my own electrical in my basement, they come check it and like all the phases and stuff. But I think you can do it yourself as long as you're the owner of the property.
See, that's how it is here in Colorado as well. You're able to do everything. You can pull your own permits. You can do your own work. They'll just come check it and call you out on it, which is good. That's if you do something wrong, you would naturally want to know. But it is nice because now you don't have to go always to the next one because naturally, will it be done correctly? Is it in your budget? There's a lot of things that, might not fall into place. So that's awesome. Heck yes.
Yeah, we can't do electrical here. You can get a plumbing permit, but they will not give a homeowner an electrical permit, which is probably for the best, honestly. I don't know.
It just falls into our building. We either have a building permit here or we have what's the other one? Plumbing permit. So we either get the plumbing permit or we get the building permit. If it's in the building permit, everything's inclusive, which they'll come check anything. If you touch, obviously, electrical, you've got to call for an electric inspection, all of it in order, essentially. Otherwise, yes, if you're just going in and you're just switching out, some jurisdictions are different, but say you're doing a tub to shower conversion, you can get a plumbing permit here. You can then bypass a lot of the framing inspections and things like that. They'll make sure that, you do a flood test, everything's still according to code and you're good to go. But then there are certain jurisdictions and cities as well that will require, if you're doing a shower to tub or a tub to shower conversion, that you possibly have gone through a frame and that they want to do a framing inspection. Therefore, it falls into a building category. And then you've got more and more steps is there, which it's fine. It just slows down the process naturally. So then time is money. So, but I like it. I like it here. It's good. I'm looking at different areas as well, because there are parts in the US that the real estate is a lot cheaper. So it's
and
definitely.
A lot of people A lot of people invest where they don't live. I mean, you obviously would have to have the time to be able to be there if you were going to do a renovation yourself. But lots of people, I mean, there's people that invest here that live in other areas that they can't get into the market for rental property, but they buy rental properties here and just hire a property manager because they can afford to buy a rental here, but they can't afford to buy a rental in California or in Seattle.
That's a good, that's awesome advice right there. Yeah, for me, I've been looking in Georgia and North Carolina and things like that because naturally you can get a house for 200 plus. Of course, you got me now thinking about Nashville. If you got that house for 30 grand, I'm like, holy shit.
Oh, that was a foreclosure on auction.
Still put the work into it, and that gets you started. So I mean,
we put 60K worth of work into it, but
you need to have somebody too, if you're investing in another area, make sure that you have somebody that's boots on the ground, like whoever you partnered with had you to actually see the property. And I don't know if they live within the area as well, but like I've had people that call me because they just live wherever and they're investing, they look on auction.com and all these websites and they're like, hey, what's the average rehab value of this property? And I'm like, don't even touch it unless you're going to tear it down and rebuild, because it was the floodplain thing we talked about. So they would only be able to put in a certain percentage into the renovation above the appraisal, which the appraisal would have been like, honestly, 20 grand at that point, probably, because the house had been built on railroad ties like this as a foundation, and they had collapsed inward. So the whole basement was collapsing.
Oh my
but
God.
auction.com didn't put pictures of that on there. They put pictures from the front and from the inside. So it just looks like a shitty old house, right? So this person from back east somewhere was like, oh, this is a 20,000 or 30, I don't know what it was, $1,000 house. And they kept trying to get me to give them numbers. And I said, literally, you have to plan to, like, the foundation is on railroad ties collapsing. Like, you have to tear this down. It's a great lot. It's a great size lot. But none of those pictures were on there. If someone would have bought that and not seen that, can you imagine? I mean,
yeah, walking into that, like, hopefully you have the money to then bounce back from it, because otherwise, if that was your first one, you're swamped and then you're starting over again, because that's awful. Looking at here when we first moved here, we were looking at one. It was a nice little town, Lyons, Colorado, and it would have been beautiful. Trust me, it was on the side of a little mountain, the creek underneath. But once again, you start getting into that 100-year floodplain, and you're up high enough, but naturally it did flood a few years ago. But once when you're doing your research in it, same thing. Foundation is just shot. It needs to be redone, fixed, and everything. And I'm like, yeah, for the amount of what we're going to put into it, we're not going to have, it won't justify it. We won't be able to live there and renovate everything and fix everything before moving in. And with kiddos, it was like, yeah, this isn't safe and it's not going to work. It would have been great, growing up without them at the time, because you could, bite the bullet and do it. But no, not with kiddos. It would have been too hard and risky. So right now I like it. We're in Littleton. It works out. But yeah, like I said, I'm looking at different areas. Me and my wife, we are going to go to Coverings in a few weeks. Meet Kyle there over in Atlanta, and we've got a wedding to attend the week prior. So we're going to kind of look around and check out their real estate as well down there, because it seems, once again, you can get homes for 200 plus, and I don't know, it's kind of enticing me compared to here. We've got really good equity in the house we're in right now. So when the market does kind of shift and the mortgage rates do continue to go down, it'll kind of incentivize and go from there. So.
Well, and you could also, if you have equity in your house, you can use a home equity line of credit to do the down payment on another property.
Interesting. I'm going to look into that. That's awesome. See, I've learned so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to keep you on my DM, so that way if I got any other questions, this is perfect. Thank you.
No, I love working with investors. That's my favorite part of real estate. So that's my jam.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you, Emily. Do you have any other questions, Kyle? You good?
No, yeah, it's been a great informative podcast. You're a beacon of knowledge.
Yeah, you are. And you're younger than me. I'm taken back. This is awesome. See, this is why I love the Tile family and this whole community. We can all learn from each other, and I love it. Thank you so much.
What month is your birthday, Emily?
June.
You're older than me by a couple months.
Well, shit.
I'm a baby.
I was gonna say, she thought she was younger than you.
I'm a baby.
My mom had that happen a few years ago. She was like, she set herself up, and actually she did it the opposite way. She thought she was older, and I did the math for her. I go, no, you're younger. She goes, I just went back in time. I was like, oh, that's awesome. If we could all be so lucky.
Right.
So heck yes, we'll keep kicking ass, Emily. I look forward to seeing your content continue. And we'll definitely check out your YouTube, and we'll push people your way if they got any other questions on this. And we'll definitely have to have you back later down the road. So
Excellent
thank you
mentor.
again for taking time.
Yeah, thanks guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for everyone that hung in here and listened about real estate when they thought they were coming for tile.
Hey, this is awesome. It's all house related. This is perfect.
Good to change it up.
And a little food truck. So hey, there's nothing wrong with food too.
A little snippet of that.
Business,
Awesome.
that's it. You know, if you learn the skills, business is, man, there's so much
Hey.
you can do, you know, so.
We all need to make money. So this is smart ways of doing it. So this is awesome. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Well, enjoy your night. And then I'll let you know when I come see Jason up there. All right.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right. Take care. Take
Bye.
care, Kyle.
Later.